This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, and you can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And you can also check us out at Indie PopCon on June 9th through the 11th, I think are the dates.
Sure.
The first weekend of June, we just officially purchased our booth this week, so super excited about that. It's going to be a very interesting PopCon for me, at least personally, because I'm coming straight from a 4 or 5 days in Vegas, straight to PopCon, and also we're going to try to get our booths, our booth next to. I kind of my dream for PopCon 2018 is to have our booth be sandwiched between The Nerds You're Looking For and Indiana Geeking or geekingindiana.com. Tony. Anyway, so that's the dream. And I'm going to try to make that happen. Anyway, so yeah, that's how you can contact us. And then also, if you want to become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, you can do that by going to that website that I just mentioned. And speaking of Patreon, a couple things. One, I'm posting movie commentary tracks on the Patreon feed. So become a patron for a minimum of $1 a month, and you'll get access to an RSS feed that's just commentary tracks. I'm working on getting as many of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies commentaried out.
Nice. Don't
think I will be able to get it done by Infinity War, but maybe I'll have all of them out by the time Infinity War comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. That's my goal. But nice. Anyway, and then the other thing about Patreon is this is a special Patreon episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Tiny, isn't that right?
It is.
Yeah. It is. Do you want to tell people what we are doing today?
We are going to review Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes.
At the request of a Patreon or a patron.
Patron, yes. Our friend Robert, who is from Utah, paid us money to watch Pan's Labyrinth, and we are going to review it just completely for him. Mm-hmm. And also for you guys, but still send us money. That would be cool.
Totes.
So I'm very excited about that. I think I mentioned in the last episode that Robert told me that he chose Pan's Labyrinth because he is determined to make me a Guillermo del Toro fan. And
a worthy cause.
Yeah, I think so too. After seeing Pan's Labyrinth, I would say, yeah, that's a worthy cause.
And good job on saying his name.
I know. I've been practicing. That's why we haven't recorded in 2 weeks.
Reference one of our first handful of episodes.
Yeah.
Where we reviewed Pacific Rim.
Yeah, that's right.
You were like Golnamerno del Toro.
And you know what? That is not even the worst. That isn't the most cringeworthy part of that, because I don't remember if it was actually in the episode or not. I think because I don't know if I had the editing prowess to take it out, but I very much did not know if it was Pan's Labyrinth or Pond's Labyrinth.
Oh yeah.
No idea why I would think that it would be Pond's or anything weird.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
If you live in the UK.
Yeah.
Pond.
Yeah. Pond. Sure.
That's how you would say it.
Okay. Gotcha.
With a British accent.
Pond. Sure.
Anyways.
I wasn't trying that, but sure.
Okay.
At the time.
I thought you might have been.
No. Well, thank you for the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, sponsor for this week is once again Horror Movie Yearbook. They're a great horror movie-centric podcast that takes a couple different horror movies from a specific year and reviews and contextualizes them with the pop culture and current events of the year of release. You can find that at horrormovieyearbook.com and at HM Yearbook on Twitter. And thank you once again to Horror Movie Yearbook and the fine folks at Midwest Podcast Network for sponsoring this week's episode. So, before we get to our Pan's Labyrinth review, our Pan's Labyrinth, Pan's Labyrinth review, we have some business to talk. Or news, really, I guess.
Business.
We actually do. We are closing in on booking the date for Shocktober in Irvington this year. I don't remember what year. Is this the 5th year?
Is it?
I think it is. Fuck.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's the 5th year. My God.
Dang.
I think it is. Yeah, yep.
Half decade.
Right?
Yeah.
Half decade. Freaking unbelievable. And like this June is our 5th anniversary for the podcast too.
Oh yeah.
It's like, God, like half of a decade. Like, can you believe it?
It is crazy.
God. And we only have 3 podcasts now, so we need to, it's funny because, and we'll get to news in a second, but, I keep making, jokes to Tony, our friend Tony, from Indiana Geeking, about podcasting, because he gives me a lot of crap about, my podcasting output. And so I don't remember if I mentioned this on the last couple episodes, but he, let's see, what was it? He gave me crap about watching a lot of sitcoms, because I've been burning through Cheers quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's delightful.
Nice.
So he said something like, he said something on Twitter, and I said that it's just prep work for my new podcast, The Laugh Track, a podcast devoted to sitcoms and to situational comedy television.
Right.
It's embarrassing to say, but like the next day I was like, I could probably do that.
Oh my God.
But I won't. I did come up with an idea. No, I'm not even gonna.
Oh, boy.
I'm not even gonna put that out there because I wouldn't do that, especially when I have such poor output for my other podcast. But anyway, and then just recently he, let's see, what was it? Oh, he gave me crap because he saw that I was on PlayStation 4 playing Batman, Arkham City, and I said, "Oh, it's just," or he said that this doesn't look like it's podcast related. I said it's actually prep work for my new podcast, the Cape and Cowl, a podcast devoted to Batman in Gotham City.
Oh my God.
So
Cape and Cowl.
Yeah. So my goal is to just give him as much shit as I can about starting fake podcasts.
Oh my God.
But if you guys want to hear the laugh track or the Cape and Cowl, let me know. We'll have to start a GoFundMe on that.
I discourage that.
But you got to admit though, okay, sitcoms, that's a lot of stuff we could get through.
Yeah.
And Batman is arguably, I would say, one of the most iconic and prolific characters.
Franchises.
Yes. Yeah. Across all mediums.
Yes.
And I say that having spent a lot of money the last couple weeks procuring several different Batman comics.
You nerd.
I know. So anyway, let's get to news. Also, my background for my phone is Batman the Animated Series.
Again, you nerd.
No.
But also fucking A.
I know,
that's
right?
cool.
It's cool. Like, I was really excited because I know that this year they're going to come out with Batman the Animated Series on Blu-ray.
Oh, man.
A whole new transfer of it, and I would hope have a whole bunch of special features on it and stuff.
Nice.
It was announced at, I want to say, San Diego Comic-Con last year. It might have been somewhere else, but they announced it, but they said it's going to be later in 2018, and I'm like if it, I want it now because I just started like the last 20 episodes of it. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So good stuff. So let's see. For news, we have one quick follow-up. We got listener feedback about my Tornado Train
Did we?
script. Yes. I believe it was Mike.
When's production start?
Right. Mike, our friend Mike from PopCon, and also Comic Carnival podcast. Check them out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes and everything. He mentioned that he would like to see that happen. And I think either he or Robert said that he would want to see a poster made of it, which, I mean, not gonna lie, it would be pretty cool to see someone make a poster.
Yes,
hint,
it
hint,
would.
listeners.
Yeah.
If you guys have any graphic design experience, make a poster for my movie.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be cool. But anyway, okay, yeah. So anyway, we got some good feedback on that. So I'll start working on the my acceptance speech first of all.
Yes,
really.
of course.
Yeah, which brings us to the real big news item of this week's episode, the Oscars.
The Oscars.
They happened, and it's funny because the Oscars had a special relevance to this week's topic of the podcast, in that Mr. Guillermo del Toro won Best Director and Shape of Water won Best Picture.
Sure did.
Yes,
Sure
you
did.
haven't gotten around to watching Shape of Water. Okay.
I have not.
Because I have, and I was just not too fond of it.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually a video of me me on New Year's Eve with a friend being taught how to do this hand gesture that is done in The Shape of Water very drunkenly.
Okay.
I thought about posting it on Twitter and Facebook, but I don't know because I'm really drunk. So we'll see. But anyway, what did you think? First of all, did you watch the Oscars from beginning to end?
Pretty much, yeah. There was a part there in the middle where I kind of stopped, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And what did you think of the night?
I was pretty happy with the night overall. I mean, I couldn't even disagree with a lot of the winners, and I think the musical performances were pretty good as well, which I kind of just glaze over those a lot of the time when I'm watching the Oscars, but I liked them this year. And I think Jimmy Kimmel did a great job. I liked quite a few of his gags. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good night overall.
Nice. I thought it was pretty good as well. It's funny because that night I actually saw Annihilation in the theater.
Oh, okay.
And I got dinner and then got home right on time, right as the ceremony was beginning. So I missed part of the opening monologue, but I did watch, all of it from beginning to end. Also, that was the day that Indiana made it legal for us to buy alcohol on Sundays.
Correct.
So for the first time in since the 1900 or 1800s,
something like that.
Yeah, it's been we haven't been able to buy alcohol on Sunday. So I actually bought a case of beer, which Tiny, there's some in the fridge if you want some.
Okay.
And I actually bought it now the rule is that you can buy it from noon to 8 p.m. on Sundays in Indiana, and I bought mine at 7:59 p.m. and then went home and watched the Oscars.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I liked the night, the ceremony itself. I thought that, I thought Jimmy Kimmel did a great job, and I also really liked how they didn't necessarily downplay, but how they downgraded the kind of running gag of the evening. Each year, there's kind of this running thing that they check on each year, the pizza selfie thing, the Neil Patrick Harris magic trick thing and stuff, and it's always kind of okay, Oscars,
yeah,
okay, but this one was pretty funny. It was just whoever gave the shortest acceptance speech, basically a Price is Right kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got a good chuckle out of that.
Me too.
Yeah,
I thought that was very funny.
And I didn't as far as the winners and everything, I still need to go back and listen to mine and Fecus's breakdown of the nominees, because if you listen to that episode, you will know that Fecus and I made a wager that we are going shot for shot in Vegas. So, which if he picked a winner in a category, I have to buy him a shot. If I pick the winner, He has to buy me a shot.
Okay.
If neither of us did, we both have to do a shot. So I'm gonna be dead when we get to PopCon after Vegas.
I was gonna say if you get back.
Yeah. So I leave all of the podcasting to pizza.
Thank you. Sitting right here.
No, that's fine. It's
she doesn't even have thumbs.
Well, she's very good at I don't know. Anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, as far as the winners and everything for the Oscars, fine. I kind of thought that it was just okay. Shape of Water winning Best Picture was kind of a mixed bag for me because I really didn't care for the movie that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just couldn't get into it, couldn't really get behind the emotional arc of the story, like the romantic subplot of the story. I couldn't really get behind it. I really wanted either Lady Bird or something else to win, really. Lady Bird was probably my front runner for it. Lady Bird or Get Out, even though I knew that was a long shot. But I'm happy for the genre that I'm happy for genre filmmaking that Shape of Water won, because
totally.
Yeah, it says a lot that it's amazing that that type of movie can win Best Picture. I enjoy that, especially when it's in league with movies that are kind of still feel like they're Oscar bait stuff.
Right.
Like Darkest Hour, The Post,
right.
Other movies in the categories.
Yeah.
But the one kind of bone that I want to pick is Best Adapted Screenplay.
Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, which I just have such a bug up my ass about that movie. I don't know why. I just could not connect to it. And I feel like it winning Best Adapted Screenplay, over, I knew that it was a long shot, but Logan would have been amazing to win that.
That would have been amazing.
But I just feel like the actual writing, it's adapted from a novel, and the novel is from the perspective of the main character and everything. So obviously, from what I understand, the novel gives you really good insight into his motivations and his characterization and his feelings and everything. And I didn't get any of that from the movie, from either character.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit it at some point, but I just really didn't care for the movie. But,
okay.
Yeah. Any winners stick out to you?
Most notably the 4 acting categories. Frances McDormand, I've been a fan of forever. But
her speech was amazing.
Yeah, pretty powerful. But she's won an Oscar before,
right?
And she's been there. But the other 3, Gary Oldman, About Fucking Time,
right?
Allison Janney, one of my favorite actresses ever.
Yep.
So I was super happy for that.
I think you'll really like I, Tonya.
I think I will too.
Yeah.
And Sam Rockwell.
Yes.
Who, I wouldn't say About Time, but
right.
I'm glad he's being recognized, because still a lot of people still think of Sam Rockwell as that one guy from The Green Mile, or that one guy from this movie from Iron Man 2. It's he's still a character actor, kind of that guy actor to a lot of people, and now he's finally won an Oscar, and I think that's awesome.
I just love that we can say Oscar winner Sam Rockwell.
Yes. Plus, I haven't seen the other performances, but I did watch 3 Billboards.
Oh, yeah?
And he friggin' deserved that Oscar. He was so great.
He was really good in it.
Really great. Yeah. So.
I tweeted this when he was giving his speech, but he said, I'd like to thank the Academy, and that, first of all, it was the first, if not was that the first category of the night? I think that was the first, or one of the first, the first major one, because I think they start out with the supporting actors.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just remember thinking man, he set the bar really high for acceptance speeches. But when he said, I'd like to thank the Academy, and then he said, I never thought I'd ever say that. I was just Sam, we've been following you for years. We've known you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, at some point.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal actor, and I'm so happy to see him get that recognition. Yeah. And Gary Oldman also, because the guy is incredible.
Yeah, a lot of people consider him one of the best working actors, and he had only been nominated once before.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It is nuts thinking of how chameleon-like that man is. Yeah.
And then Allison Janney and Frances McDormand. I loved Allison Janney in I, Tonya, and Frances McDormand in Three Billboards. I liked quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Did you hear about Frances McDormand's statue?
No.
Like that night it got stolen.
Really?
Yeah. Some guy just fucking stole the statue.
Damn.
And like it was recovered and everything, but
Okay.
I think I saw a post or something that said like now we're gonna have 3 billboards on like in LA. It's just saying like stolen Academy Award and no arrests.
God.
But yeah, anyway, so that's the Oscars. It was as little credence as I give the Oscars for being a legitimate reflection of what movies are, like what the quality of movies for the year was. I still enjoy it as a ceremony, and I still enjoy watching it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I wish I could even understand why. I think part of it is like, I remember at one point there was just this big montage of like classics, you know?
Yes.
And like they just built up with this awesome music, and like after they finished the montage, I was like, God, I just love movies.
Yeah, it's a celebration of the thing that
I was
love.
like, I just wanted to go watch those movies, like Jaws and Citizen Kane and E.T. and all these movies. I was like, I just want to go watch all those right now.
And the music they used was very great. Like I think they started out with the soundtrack from Interstellar, which I still think is one of like the best scores I've heard in recent years.
Yeah. And
then it ended with a piece of music that it was so like right on the tip of my tongue as to what it was, and I couldn't figure it out. And then finally Mike, our former co-host who's on sabbatical, he sent me a message and was like, was it Love Actually? And I'm like, yes,
that's right.
It's like the end theme of Love Actually. I'm like, man, I need to watch that movie again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the Super Bowl for movie fans.
Right, it is. It is.
Yeah, it's great. So I think next year I don't know. I think next year we should do an Oscar pool.
Okay.
I think we probably have said that the last couple of years. I know that remember I did one like pre-podcast.
I remember, yeah.
A couple years, yeah.
I remember.
Like it's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah.
But I think it would be kind of cool to do like an Oscar pool for the Facebook group or something.
Maybe we could have our one of our patrons and subscribers, Matt Andraco, maybe he could like write us a little program that'll like just make it automatic.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. And so you don't have to like sit there and do all the math and like keep track of everything on paper or something like that, you know.
Yeah. All right. Matt, you got your assignment.
Your homework.
You have a year.
You got about a year.
Yeah. And I just want for the record to show that Tiny is the one that put him on the spot.
Yeah, he doesn't have a wife or child or anything like that. He doesn't have a newborn child or anything.
Speaking of newborn children, though, so happy I got to make that segue.
Yeah.
So as we were talking about the Oscars on like the night of the Oscars, Mike and I and Tiny, did you in the Facebook group or in the what was
chat?
The chat or pod chat? Yeah,
pod chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you talking in that?
Yeah, a little bit here and there.
Yeah. So we were having a conversation about the Oscars. Little did we know that, like, apparently, like right after the Oscars, I guess Mike's, our former co-host, is on sabbatical. His wife's water broke.
Yeah,
so,
like during the ceremony, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and they just kind of hung out and like watched the rest of the Oscars, didn't they? Yeah.
And so they went to the hospital, and young Howie was born.
Yep. And their firstborn is named Oscar.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I have this thought in my head that it's likely that Howie was just like, oh, well, you know, these guys are talking a lot about Oscar.
Yeah.
I should just kind of come out and you know.
It's like I'm losing ground here.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very big congrats to Mike and his wife Amanda, and they're now 2 sons. Congrats. And He's never coming back to the podcast.
No, probably not.
Full time, yeah. I do have kind of a grudge for him because he now has 2 sons. His name is Mike White. He did not name either one of them Walter.
I know.
And that's...
Drop the ball.
Yeah.
Drop the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
The ball of meth.
Right. That's... Yeah. Anyway,
not a thing.
Congrats. Share your congrats to him at I am Mike White on Twitter.
Yeesh.
So anyway, that is all of the news that we have. And should we go right into our review of Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro?
El laberinto del fauno.
Sí. Oh my god. Okay.
That's the original title.
Oh, gotcha.
I love how it just rolls off the tongue.
The whole time I was watching it, I was like, and anytime I watch like a Spanish language movie or show or anything, I'm like, that is just such a beautiful freaking language.
It really is.
It's,
especially when Pan is like speaking with that like deep gravelly voice, like, no más preguntas. Like, it's just so, yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Love it. Anyways, we're getting into premature.
Right, right. So let's start off by talking about our relationship with Guillermo del Toro and his work. Tiny, where do you land on Mr. del Toro's body of work?
I've been a fan for quite a while, even going back to like Hellboy and stuff like that. I'm a fan because of his integrity as a director and as a storyteller. I think he takes these like very classic structures for stories, like there'll be like big fantasies or like these love stories, or I don't want to use the word standard, but it's kind of stuff where it's like, it's like a standard play on a classic Romeo and Juliet story, or it's kind of something you're familiar with, but he puts he has such a unique visual style, and he always puts these fun little twists or little his own interpretation of these classic stories, like The Shape of Water is kind of sort of like a classic monster story meshed in with a classic love story, and kind of I haven't seen it, but I think there's kind of like a good versus evil kind of element going on there as well. So there's like a movie like that is a great example. And then Pan's Labyrinth has this kind of like this like really beautiful and just fun fairy tale meshed with a dark moment in history of a certain country. And it's just like, who would think to do that? Who would think to put those two things together, or mesh those really interesting ideas together? I love the way that he makes things his own, and he does so with, I guess I would call it like visual integrity. That's not really the way to say it, but he does so with visual dedication. I'll put it that way. He likes to use practical effects, which I think is so much fun this day and age. It's really refreshing to see him. Like, what's the guy in the suit going to look like this time? It's almost like a classic. It's almost like the same sentiment as like a classic B monster movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, what's the monster going to look like? Or, who's the guy in the suit? He's for like Pan's Labyrinth. It's like, the Doug Jones is the actor's name. He uses him in like every single one of his movies, and he's always playing a guy in a suit. Right. And so he played Pan, and then like the kind of pale monster in this movie, and it's just like, oh man, what's he going to look like this time? Yeah. It's really great. So
an Indiana native.
That's right. He went to Ball State grad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I really enjoy the way he tells a story, plain and simple.
And the way you describe your feelings toward him, and like the passion that you employed in that is admirable. Like I wish that I had that same connection, and like I recognize your points. Like I agree that it is kind of majestic the way that he is able to conceive a story and see it through to the end of the production process with a very unique Guillermo del Toro flair, and like his his utilization of practical effects and everything is really incredible. Like, there's some moments in Pan's Labyrinth where I was shocked. Like, I'm kind of squeamish and a little bit about violence, but like, I was not expecting it to be so graphic. Like, it's not like anything. It's not like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like gratuitous or anything. It's just existing there. Like, there's moments where and we're diving into the review a little bit, but there are moments where like there are flashes of violence in his movies that are like practical effects of like something like a knife going through a body part,
right,
that exists on film for like 3 frames and then it's done. And I'm thinking like he just utilized like this effect. Like, he did this effect for a very, very, very small amount of time on screen, and like, it's still going to stick with me for the rest of the movie.
Right.
It's just really astonishing what he accomplishes and what he chooses to accomplish in terms of filmmaking and everything. Having said that, though, I really wasn't a fan. Like I talked about, I wasn't a fan of Shape of Water. I really did not like Pacific Rim, and we reviewed it in the early days of the podcast. I don't recommend anyone listen to it because that was, at least for me, I was.
We were in a different place.
We were.
It's 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I just remember at the time, I just wasn't crazy about Pacific Rim. It felt like the story was a little lax. Like, one of the kind of things that I've noticed with Del Toro's work is that granted, I haven't seen a lot of it, but I can't really seem to connect on an emotional level the way that the story wants me to or expects me to.
Okay.
And that's the same with Pacific Rim and The Shape of Water. So that's kind of a bummer, but I haven't seen, and I need to see, Hellboy and, there was, Crimson Peak I still want to see, even though they're
me
kind of
too.
mixed.
I need to see it.
Yeah. Did you ever see Kronos?
No, but I've heard it's great.
Okay, so have I. That's his first feature.
Right.
Yeah, I really want to see that.
And I really dig the original Hellboy.
Oh, yeah?
Good movie. And the second one I think is a little underrated too.
Oh, really?
The villain's kind of meh, but yeah, Ron Perlman is perfect for Hellboy.
Nice.
Just perfect. So yeah, I recommend checking out at least the first one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So kind of diving into the review a little bit, Pan's Labyrinth is going to make me kind of want to go back and watch some more.
Totally.
Del Toro's work. Having said that, let's go into our review of Pan's Labyrinth from 2006.
Okay.
Tiny, would you like to read the plot description courtesy of IMDb?
I'd love to. In the Falanges Spain of 1944, the bookish young stepdaughter of a sadistic army officer escapes into an eerie but captivating fantasy world.
Nice. Well done. The only reason why I asked you to do it is I did not want to try to pronounce phalangist.
Phalangist, yeah. It sounds like it's a finger country.
Yeah.
Phalanges. Get your mind out of the gutter.
No, I wasn't in there. I was actually thinking
Matthew William.
I was actually thinking of Regina Phalange from Friends.
Of course you were, you dork. Mr. Sitcom over here.
Right. Check out the Laugh Track podcast.
Oh my God. Coming soon to a podcast near you.
Yeah, ObsessiveViewer.com presents the Laugh Track. Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, Pan's Labyrinth. I watched it on Vudu. I rented it, which is a great way to rent and watch movies. Mm-hmm. Tiny, how did you watch it?
I watched it on the Amazon.
Oh, nice.
Amazon, yeah. My TV has an Amazon button. I love it.
Nice.
Go straight to it. It's nice. So yeah, and it was the most affordable, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to have a longer conversation. Maybe next time when we do Extended Potpourri, we'll talk about digital and renting in 2018 and stuff.
I feel like we have that conversation like once a month.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it changes like every month.
Yeah, so. Like I had a fun experience today, but we're in the review now, so let's not muddy that review here. So this one's for Robert. We will stay on track from now on, I promise.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pan's Labyrinth. I will go into kind of broad broad discussion about it.
Okay.
Non-spoiler first. So I went into this movie, like the second that I started it, the first 2 minutes of it, I realized I had literally no idea what I was going into. It was one of those experiences where I've heard the name Pan's Labyrinth. I'm aware that it's Guillermo del Toro. I'm aware that it's I'm aware of his visual style in movies, but that is the extent of what I knew about the plot of this movie going into it.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting and fun way to go into a movie. And like you kind of mentioned when you were talking about Del Toro in general, the way that he is able to kind of marry two very different plot threads and themes and thematic elements and tones together is very interesting. Like you said, this is a kind of a fairy tale with a Civil War,
almost like a time period, like a period piece.
A period piece, yeah, a wartime period piece movie, and it fits really well together.
Yeah.
There were some moments where I felt a little bit not as engaged with it as I would have wanted to be. This is far and away of the three Del Toro movies, this is my favorite that I've seen.
Okay.
Over Pacific Rim and Shape of Water easily. And I like the way that it married those two elements into one kind of cohesive thing, but kind of I found throughout about the middle of the movie, I kind of found myself a little bit disconnected because of that. Because I didn't understand what Ophelia's arc, how that would inevitably relate to the captain and the mother, or captain and the what would you categorize her as, the housemaid? The housekeeper. I didn't know how they were going to intersect or anything, or if they were going to intersect. And one of the things that I find that I struggle with Del Toro's movies is that he has such inspired and incredible ideas. On screen, there are elements in this movie that I've never seen before in another movie. And that's kind of consistent with every single thing that I've seen from him, is that he's got this kind of genius mind to create these really visually stunning and visually incredibly unique things. There's a monster, there's a thing that with, I don't want to spoil it in non-spoilers, but it involves eyeballs.
Yeah.
And I think I'd seen artwork about that, just in my travels, at conventions and stuff, but I didn't remember it until I saw how the eyeballs were implemented into it. And I was like, that's just genius.
And it's freaky. Who thinks of that?
Yeah, it's so freaky, and it subverts what you expect from it when you're introduced to the character, to that plot thread. It's just, that was such an amazing moment for me, because I was just I didn't expect it. I didn't know what I was in for, and I was just really really pleasantly surprised by that. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, I'm really liking this whole story of Ophelia going, and she's in this labyrinth, and she has these tasks that she has to do. And I was really interested in that, but it just also felt like there wasn't necessarily a sense of urgency or purpose for that plot thread. In that scene, and I'll talk more about that in spoilers, that scene in particular, when she makes a choice in that scene that causes some dramatic things to happen, and all I thought was, I have no idea why she chose to do that. There wasn't any, I couldn't get a read on what her motivation was for that, aside from the fact that maybe she's just a dumb kid. I don't know if there was some kind of thematic element to it. I don't know if that was supposed to be a metaphor for something, because it just felt like she's explicitly told not to do something, and then she does it, and it's just of course there are going to be consequences. That's what happens. So that was one like minor nitpick, and that is absolutely a nitpick. I don't mean to like that didn't detract from the movie itself overall, but it kind of is a good description of why I kind of felt a little bit disengaged with that element of the story.
Okay.
And then as far as the actual like war period piece war thing, I was kind of really into it for a very large portion of the movie. Like the whole movie, which I should say. There's a scene with a captain and some farmers or hunters involving rabbits.
Yeah.
That I like. That scene alone is like probably my favorite scene of the movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, just because I love the storytelling of that scene. I love what it informs about the captain and just how it evolves that character and really sets the stage for the dynamic. But I've been talking a lot. Tiny, broad terms, what did you think of Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah, it is also my favorite Guillermo del Toro movie.
Nice.
Easily. I had only seen this once. I don't know why, but as I was watching it, I was like, I should probably have this movie on Blu-ray because it's just a gorgeous movie, and it's a period piece mixed with fantasy that should be in my catalog, but it's not. I really liked the movie a lot, and I remember liking it when I first saw it. I just hadn't taken the time to revisit it for whatever reason. But yeah, I just keep coming back to the kind of juxtaposition or the melding of the kind of the period piece with a fantasy, and I love the way that the fantasy or the fairy tale is kind of ambiguous. Like, is she actually a princess from like another dimension or whatever it is, from another world, and her soul is just trapped here on Earth? Like, is that real, or is she hallucinating the whole time? Like, what's I kind of like that ambiguity, and it's like you're kind of trying to figure it out, and then you kind of, at least I kind of come to the conclusion that it doesn't necessarily matter. It's a really beautiful story either way. And you just talked about kind of your favorite part, and my favorite part is the climax, the climax of the story. I just think I love the way, like you talked about earlier, the convergence of the two kind of storylines coming together, and how, it wasn't just this girl playing pretend with the backdrop of the Falangist Spain or whatever it is, this military kind of conflict or social conflict that's going on. That conflict was actually relevant to her story, and like that's the way her new infant brother plays into it and all that stuff. It was just really incredible how those two stories came together, and that climax was incredibly tense, and just, it's so fascinating to see this like really harsh reality of, government control or totalitarianism, and this, it's stark and harsh. It's a harsh reality come into full blows with this full-on fantasy and fairy tale that's like, these two things don't belong together, but they come together in such an amazing way. I thought that was just, like you said, Guillermo del Toro has an incredible mind to bring those two things together that way. So I just loved it. I also think the performances are really kind of skimmed over by a lot of the people who see the movie. And I think the reason is because there's not any big stars in it,
Yeah, that's true.
Even to this day, none of the actors, as far as I know, are like big stars or anything. And I think that's kind of refreshing, but I think they all did a fantastic job.
Me too.
The captain and the mother, the housemaid, I think, was one of the standouts. I thought she was a very dramatic performance. And of course, I don't remember how old the actress who plays Ophelia was, but she could have been much older than 8 or 9, maybe 10.
Yeah. She was incredible.
She was. That's to put a child into that story. That's just difficult to get a performance out of a child that young in a story like this. And she was great. So, and I just think it's a really cool story. Again, how she has to, complete these tasks, and I kind of wish I think almost shortcomings of the story is I feel like this the fairy tale of the princess whose soul traveled to another world and is kind of trapped here on terrestrial Earth or whatever. I feel like that was like a story that she learned from her biological father or like her actual father.
Oh, interesting.
And like she's kind of reliving it in amongst the turmoil and trauma of trying to like adjust to a new stepfather.
Right.
And so it's like she's trying to cling to and dive into these stories that her father told her. That's kind of what I got, or that's kind of an angle it could have taken maybe. And it didn't really have much of that in the movie. Okay. Like there's kind of this narration of that story throughout it by this bookends it. Like an empty male voice kind of. Yeah. And it's great and I like it, but I feel like it almost should have been revealed that was her father telling her the story or something like that. That would have been
interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been really good. Or maybe that's almost like something he was going for, but maybe running time kind of got in the way of that or something. Because it's a 2-hour movie.
Right.
I don't think it feels like a 2-hour movie at all.
It didn't. It didn't for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some distractions and stuff
okay.
during it, but yeah, it didn't feel that long to me.
Okay. I thought it felt like a tight 90-minute movie, but it's 2 hours long. Nice. Yeah, I really dig the movie, and I'm glad it won the Oscars that it did, and really, I think it really elevated Guillermo del Toro in a great way.
What did it win at the Oscars?
It won a couple Oscars, I think, for makeup. I don't recall what else it won for. Cinematography.
Oh, very well deserved.
Yeah, art direction and makeup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. See, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, and I also kind of want to touch on the visual aspects of it. Yeah. You mentioned that you knew while watching it that it needed to be in your collection and everything.
Yeah.
It's funny because I watched this today at home, like on Vudu. I rented it. I rented the HD version of it, and I watched it at home on my 46-inch 1080p TV. But I had like the option of watching it earlier in the day, because I took the day off of work and I got my car worked on a little bit. So like I was at the mechanic and he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be probably about 2-3 hours," and I'm like, "All right, well I got nothing better to do, so I'm gonna hang out here." So I had my phone and I had my charger with me, so I was like, I'm gonna watch a movie, and I was like, I could have watched Pan's Labyrinth, but I'm so happy I didn't, because like the visual aspect of it would not have impacted me watching it on a freaking phone versus watching it at home on a decent sized television.
Right.
So I'm very relieved and thankful that I made that choice. Good job, me. But yeah, it is just a visually just beautiful movie. The labyrinth itself, the different locations that Ophelia finds herself in are just really kind of jaw-dropping. Like we mentioned the scene with the creature. That it is kind of astonishing. Just the level of detail in it and everything, and the kind of fantasy element of it, like seeing that in this period setting of a conventional like war setting, is just really remarkable, and it kind of sets this visual context into your head that it sticks with you because you're seeing these dual tones and these dual like settings kind of play out concurrent to each other. Themes, yeah. Like these very different styles. And I really appreciate the movie for that. When we're first introduced to, so is the character's name Pan?
Yeah, he's like a god, pretty much.
Yeah. Is it the guide? Or is that Fawn? Because in the subtitles it said Fawn.
That's the Spanish word for Pan.
Is it really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know.
Fauno, yeah.
Okay, sure.
I think so, because the title of the movie is El Laberinto del Fauno.
Oh, okay.
which is the Labyrinth of Pan, as far as I know.
Nice. Okay. See, that just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I did have this one quick tweet, and I'll go back to my point here. After I watched it, I said, "Yeah, spoiler alert: Pan's Labyrinth has nothing to do with Neverland or David Bowie."
Nice.
So I'm actually kind of proud of that tweet. And I'm very happy that I got that response from you.
Nice.
But yeah, at that point when we're first introduced to Pan and to the kind of fantasy setting and everything, I kind of had to pause it for a second because I was sitting there thinking, like, it would have been incredible to see Guillermo del Toro do a Harry Potter movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like I actually remembered reading something, so I Googled it, and turns out that he was up for doing Prisoner of Azkaban, but he turned it down because I believe that the article I read said that it was because he loved the books. He loves the Harry Potter books, but he viewed the decision to take that job against the first two movies. And he felt like his visual style, like his style of filmmaking, would not have meshed well with the kind of happy tones of the first two movies.
Oh, okay.
Which I can respect him for that, but
right,
man, if he could have gotten his hands on one of the later movies,
absolutely,
it would have been incredible. And then
got a lot darker and
absolutely,
yeah.
And like I would love to see what he would do with Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
God.
Well, I mean, Azkaban, the Dementors.
Right.
His version of a Dementor would be pretty cool, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was the worst thing about prison was the Dementors.
Oh, God.
Hashtag prison Mike. Anyway.
Yeah.
Laugh track, sitcoms. Anyway.
God damn it.
So, anyway. And then when I tweeted that, Patreon subscriber Robert tweeted at me and said, or what he could have done with the Hobbit movies. And in that moment, I had completely forgotten that he had sunk years of his life into pre-production for the Hobbit movies, and man, that would have been so interesting.
It would have.
Oh,
he was also slated to direct the Silent Hill movie for a long time.
Oh yeah,
which that would have fucked everybody up.
Right.
Because did you ever play that game much?
I did. Yeah.
The game was scary as shit and
right.
had all these crazy creatures in it. To see him go nuts with that, man, that would have been something else, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which the Silent Hill movie they made was kind of creepy.
Was it? So I never saw it.
It wasn't
Did
great.
it have Sean Bean?
Sean Bean and Radha Mitchell were in it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rad Hot Mitchell.
Yes. Yeah, Radha Mitchell.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because I'm coming around. Like I'm gonna revisit Pacific Rim, and I'm probably gonna watch a lot more of Del Toro's work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so. I don't know if I'd say the word tragic. I don't know if I would say the word disappointing, but it is kind of a bummer that a lot of the conversation around Guillermo del Toro is, as Robert pointed out on Twitter to me, is that there's so much conversation around the projects that he was going to do or could do or was slated to do, but just hasn't couldn't get it greenlit or anything.
Right.
So in my conversation with Robert on Twitter, we would hope that the Oscars would give him kind of free rein to pick his next projects.
Hopefully.
Yeah, he has been working on and wanting to do In the Mountains of Madness, which is based on an H.P. Lovecraft novel, I believe.
Okay, yeah,
which
that's a good match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that seems like it's the kind of movie that he's destined to make.
I haven't read a lot of Lovecraft, but from what I know about it,
same here.
That sounds, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, so should we go into our spoilers?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
So we're going to go into spoilers for Pan's Labyrinth. And, I'll play some music here to transition us over. So once the music ends, we are going to go spoilers free for Pan's Labyrinth.
Well, the idea, it's sort of a sister movie to another movie I made called Devil's Backbone, which was already set in the Civil War in Spain, and it dealt with brutality and innocence. And I think this movie deals with the same two issues, is what happens to children in war. In this case, it's after the war, but there is repression in the rebels in the mountains and so forth. So thinking about it, I thought it would be a movie where you could create a fantasy world that was as real and sometimes as scary or as dangerous as the real world.
Okay, and we are spoilers on for Pan's Labyrinth.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, right off the bat, the scene you were talking about earlier where you weren't sure what her motivation was.
Yeah, okay, with the grapes.
She eats the grapes. Yeah. I think it's because her punishment was she got sent to bed without dinner.
Oh.
So she's like super fucking hungry.
Okay. Okay. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. Because I kept thinking, wow, I didn't connect.
Like, how stupid are you? Just don't eat the food.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the dude told her not to, and then it's even in the book, like.
And the fairies are like, no, stop. Yeah.
And then I felt like I was like they get eaten because of her.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, I mean, through the mind of a child, also, she's like, she sees this guy there, and it's like, he doesn't have any eyes. How's he gonna know that I eat the food?
Yeah.
So
that's fair. Okay, I hadn't thought about the dinner thing.
Yeah.
So
still a bit of a stretch, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
A little bit, but yeah, I'll kind of rescind my critique of that then, because now that retroactively that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that freaking eyeball thing.
Yeah.
That was so freaking cool and creepy, and just what kind of mind comes up with that?
I know, right? It's freaky. It's like next level kind of art, or like H.R. Giger, like that kind of stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
how does that come out of your mind? How do you put that on? Yeah, it's just incredible.
Like also, and granted, not familiar with the work, but it's Lovecraftian too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just really, really clever.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about my favorite scene, the hunters with the rabbits?
It does set a really important tone, I think. The ruthlessness and like the kind of like the lack of mercy.
Yeah,
from the captain. It does set a good tone, and yeah, I think that kind of segues into, or it's kind of a big part of that scene is the violence.
Yeah,
that you mentioned earlier on, and I forgot to kind of mention it, but I love the use of violence in the movie because it's kind of like hyper real, or like it's not like superficial violence or like violence for the sake of shock.
It's not like Hollywood violence where they cut away and let your mind fill in the blanks. So it's like,
yes,
the camera stays on it. Like when he's what was he doing? Like
he's like pummeling the guy's head with a wine bottle.
Yeah, with the wine bottle.
Yeah,
like, and it just stays on it, and like you see it, and it's just like
you see his face like collapsing.
Yeah, and it's like you could look at that and be like, okay, well that's kind of weird. That looks kind of weird, but it's also like that's probably kind of close to what it would probably look like.
Kind of realistic, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's so not Hollywoodized, or it's not glamorized or anything, that it's just like you said, it's like kind of a raw kind of visual visual depiction of it, that it's like it kind of looks goofy because your brain doesn't, like, at least from my perspective, because your brain doesn't know how to process it,
right?
Because it just looks, like you said, hyper real and very, very true to life.
Yeah, it wasn't Hollywood violence. And like when he gets shot at the end, that part where his eye kind of just starts rolling freely, I was like, "Whoa, damn, that's a crazy
detail." And like
just
the
a
blood
crazy
fills,
detail,
like underneath,
like
very faintly. Also the knife in the cheek. Like,
oh
my god.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just relentless.
Yeah.
And I love that depiction of the captain as just this ruthless, like, murderer, and very sadistic, because the reason why I love that scene is just in terms of writing, that scene is just really beautiful. Yeah. Because they're very adamant about, they're hunting rabbits, and then he kills the son and then kills the father, and then, like, just as an aside, like, kind of like the end of the scene is the captain takes the rabbits out of the bag, and he's just like, maybe search people a little more clearly before you bother me.
Right.
It's like, you just murdered 2 people.
Yeah. And then they eat the rabbits later for dinner. Yeah.
It's just like, I kind of, that's the kind of, like, storytelling that I really appreciate in Del Toro's work that sadly I just couldn't connect to on like Pacific Rim and The Shape of Water. Like it didn't have that connectedness for me. But now that I am gaining more appreciation for his work, maybe I can have a renewed appreciation for those movies.
Right.
But
I also kind of wanted to talk about the kind of I addressed the kind of the ambiguity of the fairy tale. Did you? I'm curious if you kind of saw it that way, because I feel like there's clearly a point where in the climax where she's in the center of the labyrinth and she has her infant brother and she's having a conversation with Pan, and the captain walks up and she's literally talking to nothing.
Yeah.
So. Was she hallucinating the whole time? Was it just that only something she could see because she's the actual princess? Like, that's her, and so only she can see it because she's the only being from that world or whatever? Like, is it actually... When she dies, does she go to that world? Does her soul return to that world? I'm curious. I don't know. I mean, was it a near-death hallucination? I don't know.
I really love how ambiguous the movie is about that.
Right.
Because it's not like an ending where it's like very clear, like it's not an ending where it's very clear that you're supposed to read into it as one way or the other.
Right.
It's just, it's depicted in a way that it's like, if you want to follow those breadcrumbs to where you can say that, okay, well maybe this whole fantasy of being a princess and everything is just this coping mechanism for her dealing with a sadistic stepfather, and just really, new and scary living situation and everything. Like, you can absolutely read that into the movie. Mm-hmm. But if you also want to be like, oh hey, she's this princess, let's roll with that. Like, you can also go that route as well.
Right.
One thing that I did, and we'll kind of circle back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that I didn't understand the whole idea of her being a princess and everything, but it kind of felt like I kind of at the start thought that is she like the princess of hell? Like, I legitimately thought that it was like, that she was like, I thought that Pan was leading her into doing this, like doing these tasks so that like hell could rise up and destroy everything. Like,
right.
I had a completely different read on the movie.
He wanted to he did want to sacrifice an infant. So.
Right. But like, the reason that I read it that way, or the reason why I was thinking that way, was because like Pan like references it as like she's the princess of the underworld, and there's a reference to going through he says like 7 circles, and that made me think of like the 7 circles of hell.
Right.
And like, I thought like, is that like what's going on here? Like, is this like a secret like horror movie that I'm watching?
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of looking back on it without that kind of baggage, I can appreciate the journey for that character and going through those trials and everything. Mm-hmm. And I like the depiction of Pan. Like, I think it was a cool character.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
So well done. If you look at some of the classic, I don't know a lot about it. I think Pan is a Greek god, I want to say. I don't know. But if you look back at like some of the artist depictions of what he looks like, he's like half goat, like on the bottom, and he has like a goat's horns. Kind of Beelzebub-ish, kind of a little bit, which is a little weird, or a little questionable. But anyways, like, he's not that he's plain looking in a lot of the depictions I've seen, but he just kind of looks like just not as interesting and cool, right, as he does in this movie. Right. Put it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I've kind of formulated a theory on what was like really going on, or what my takeaway of the ending was. But it's the kind of movie that it's going to leave me kind of a lot to think about. I like how it bookends with like her death.
Right.
And like, that can really make you think like, okay, well maybe this is just like you said, near death, like last brain firing mechanisms of telling the story.
Right.
Since she is so fond of stories and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like that the movie leaves you with a lot of questions that you can like kind of ruminate on in a way that's not that doesn't detract from the story or anything.
Right. And it's something you want to discuss with someone else too. It's
absolutely. Yeah.
And I feel like you don't have to pick, like you don't have to decide whether or not she was just a hallucination the whole time, or if she actually is, this whole fairy tale is a true thing. You don't have to decide. It can be either one, or it can be both. It can be what you want it to be.
Yeah. Where do you fall on it? Like, what's your official?
I kind of go with the more happy fairy tale version, that she actually was, the soul of the princess actually was trapped inside Ophelia, and she really was a princess, and she actually did go back to her kingdom upon her death in the mortal coil, if you will. Yeah. Just because that's a beautiful story.
It really is
an incredible story.
Oh yeah. I am more cynical.
Are you? Okay.
Now that I'm thinking more about it, I probably, it would depend on my mood, but I would think now, like, I would be thinking like, well, I kind of like the tragedy of the idea of just the entire movie being about this girl that's using this, that's creating this fairy tale for herself to cope with living in this terrible environment, or cope with this vastly changed environment that she finds herself in. I love that that can fit both. You can fit that both.
And both stories are very good stories.
Yeah, they both fit really well.
Right.
To kind of circle back and talk about the captain, though, and his brutal nature. What I also loved about that scene that we referenced about the rabbits and everything is that that's the introduction to his ruthless nature, and that's the introduction to how merciless he is and how just sociopathic he is. And I love that that's not it. Like, it's not just like okay, now we see how he is. Now you know how to feel about him whenever he's on screen. It's like that is a depiction that's sustained throughout the movie.
Right.
Like he murders the doctor and
torture scene.
The torture scene.
Yeah.
Brutal and disturbing. And I love his comeuppance at the end.
Yeah.
Freaking brutal. Like I mean, he kills Ophelia, but then the housekeeper lady, I didn't catch her name, but she
Mercedes,
yeah. Mercedes. Oh my God, that line at the end where she's like, where he's like, tell my son that like what time I died, and then she's like, he'll never know your name.
Yeah.
Like, freaking brutal.
Absolutely.
Like, and so, like, I love, like, that's such a powerful scene, and such a powerful line that is so deserving toward that character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just amazing. Like, I thought that was, I mean, that might be, like, my favorite, like, the rabbit scene might be my favorite constructed scene and favorite written scene, but I think that scene right there, that line that she says, is like my favorite piece of dialogue from the entire movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Fantastic line.
Oh yeah. Anything else that we need to cover on it?
Gosh, I feel like there's so much you can say about it. And there's just so many things about.
Well, what did you think of the depiction of the kind of skirmishes or the post-war freedom fighter kind of things, like the kind of the war sequences? Sequences?
They were also pretty stark and pretty brutal as well. I think those scenes kind of just added to the whole package of reality, I guess, that's trying to be presented, the cruelty of the world that Ophelia lives in, or that the princess, her soul, is occupying. It's a very dark time, and that just kind of added to it, because it's all most of it isn't that, it's not very glorious like war movies tend to be sometimes. It's not about the glory, it's about the brutality of it, and how it's the old adage that war is hell, it really is, and this movie kind of adds to that. And I appreciated, it just added to the vastness of the juxtaposition of the two sides of the stories, or the two stories coming together. So I liked them for that reason. But also just the other fantasy elements, like the whole mandrake root thing. Yeah. I thought was like, it's kind of creepy that it essentially comes alive and stuff
Right.
like that. But it was also I just kind of appreciated it from like a old wives' tale kind of standpoint. Like, you know, if you know, 500 years ago, before modern medicine, they didn't know anything, and so it's like if you stand on one foot and clap your hands above your head, you'll induce your labor or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, or it's like, you know, if you plant this seed and two weeks later on a full moon you pull it up and eat the root, it'll cure your arthritis. Random shit like that. It felt like something like that. Like you put a mandrake root in fresh milk and put 2 drops of blood in there, and it'll you know, it's just
and put
like
it under the bed.
And put it under the bed, right. It's just I find those, obviously it's horse shit.
Right.
But I find it entertaining, or it's like, you can almost sit there and be like, I think I understood how they got there. Like it's kind of, it's horseshit. It doesn't, it's not true. It's just an old wives' tale, but it's kind of fun. You know what I'm saying? It's, I don't know.
I was gonna make a joke. I don't want people to think that I think this, but it's like, you know, it's like vaccines.
Nice.
That's her. No, I.
Let's nip that in the bud right now.
Yep. Not an anti-vaxxer, I promise.
Right.
Anyway, and also like seeing that go like into the fire and everything, like in that moment again, I was like, Harry Potter. If he would have done a Harry Potter movie, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that will just about do it for this review then, I think
so, yeah.
Yeah, Robert, I hope we did the movie justice, and thank you for selecting it for us, and thank you for paying us.
Yeah.
Also,
I rated it, by the way, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice. I did 3.5.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, what's your next Guillermo del Toro movie that you're gonna want to watch?
I think I'm gonna try to track down Kronos somehow.
Nice.
I want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that might be next for me too. I might also circle back and watch Pacific Rim again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I recommend Hellboy.
Nice.
Cool movie.
All right, cool. Well, that is our review of Pan's Labyrinth. Thank you once again to Robert, our Patreon subscriber, who paid us to review it for him. And we hope that we did the movie justice, and we hope that you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
If you, and that means you listening, anyone, if you want to become a Patreon subscriber to us and suggest movies for us to review and potpourris for us to potpourri and everything, you can go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, pick one of the reward tiers, and we will do your bidding. And yeah, so, and also if you enjoyed us reviewing something that a listener suggested, Robert is actually a Patreon subscriber for my solo podcast Anthology, and I'm going to be reviewing some things that he selected in the coming weeks. I promise I'm going to get back into that, and I swear I'm going to get those posted. Yeah, and then, yeah, so having said that, do you want to do some potpourri, Tiny?
Sure.
All right, and do you mind if how many do you have first?
I just got the one.
The one? Okay, I can throw out 2. I'm going to get us kicked off with Paddington. So last episode, as part of Robert's suggestion for us to review Pan's Labyrinth, I asked him to throw out a random number, and I will watch whatever that number corresponds with on my Netflix queue and review it as potpourri. So he selected number 97. So I picked number 97 on my Netflix queue, and it happened to be I think it was 2014 movie Paddington, based on the children's books, British children's books, Paddington, about the bear. And it's funny because kind of similar to Pan's Labyrinth, going into Paddington, I did not know that it was live action. Yeah, it is live action with a CGI bear, which I tweeted and said it's live action with CGI bears, but I accidentally typed love action with CGI bears, which would have been a completely different movie. But Paddington is a pretty charming movie. I know that I was kind of excited to watch it because Paddington 2 just recently came out, and it has gotten a lot of positive buzz as being a very good, like emotional movie. And for those who don't know, the plot summary according to IMDb for the first Paddington from 2014 is a young Peruvian bear travels to London in search of a home. Finding himself lost and alone at Paddington Station, he meets the kindly Brown family who offer him a temporary haven. So it kind of, oddly enough, related to kind of relate it back to Pan's Labyrinth and Guillermo del Toro. One of the leads in the movie is Sally Hawkins, who played Elisa in The Shape of Water. So, anyway, I thought that Paddington was very charming. The voice of Paddington is Ben. How do you pronounce his last name? Ben Whishaw, Q from the Bond movies, from Daniel Craig Bond movies. And so his interactions, Paddington's interactions with the world and everything is very charming. It's kind of this kind of standard, clumsy bear, out of his element, fish out of water kind of scenario. And the family he meets is very, very kind, but the patriarch of the family, played by Hugh Bonneville, is very much against having him stay with them. So there's a lot of kind of comedic, kind of slapstick kind of conflict that happens in the beginning of the movie when he comes home with them. And also kind of funny, there is a scene where Paddington is in the bathroom. He's using the facilities before dinner.
The water closet.
Yeah, the water closet. And he does, like, because he's, a bear and he's clumsy and everything. He does something that is weirdly extremely reminiscent of a movie or a scene in The Shape of Water. So I can't go into specifics, but like there's a very important pivotal scene in The Shape of Water that is also a very similarly depicted scene, except without any kind of sex involved in Paddington, which was really weird because as soon as I saw Sally Hawkins, I was like, I hope she doesn't bang
a fish.
Yeah, or bang Paddington. And then I saw that and I was like, whoa, this is kind of weird because here in about 3 years, a scene is going to have. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, where the movie kind of doesn't fall apart for me, but it kind of became a little lackluster for me, is that it kind of falls into this tropish, like, family animated comedy kind of thing where, like, of course you have bad guys who are going to go after Paddington, and then they, like, there's a whole sequence that's kind of like Home Alone but with a bear.
Okay.
Which is funny and everything, but it reminded me of, like, I don't know, it reminded me a little bit too much of, like, standard kids movies, and not that there was anything wrong with it, but, like, Nicole Kidman's in it as the villain, and Peter Capaldi is also in it as a guy who gets roped into the villain's plot. There's some character elements that I kind of appreciated, like some kind of turns in the plot that I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's a really interesting way to kind of tie everything together. And then, but by the end of it, I was like, I felt like a little bit, the other characters were a little underdeveloped. Like Paddington himself is kind of like, he's charming, and like Ben Whishaw does a really great job of vocalizing the emotions of the character, but it's also kind of like we get his silly slapstick stuff, but we don't get like too much of a connection with the family or anything. It's kind of shoehorned in kind of toward the end, but overall it's an hour and a half. It's not a waste of time. It's pretty charming, and if you're into that kind of like kids movie kind of aesthetic, you'll enjoy it. And I'm curious to check out Paddington 2 and see what the big hubbub is over that.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. I'm surprised you dedicated that much time to Paddington.
Well,
Talking
Patreon.
About Paddington. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'll ever see that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad way to spend 95 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want a bad way to spend 90 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Watch The Circle.
I have heard horrible things.
It's actually an hour and 50 minutes, so it's worse than that.
God.
It's a really bad movie.
Wow.
Really bad movie. It's just, I don't know what happens in it. Like, it is a completely cogent story up until the last 10 minutes, and I have no idea what happens at the end.
Really?
Other than, I mean, I understand what she does, but like, the main character makes this grand statement about like something. I don't want to spoil anything, but she's kind of like, she makes this grand statement about like, this is what the future is going to be, and then like it's like, wait, what's the future going to be? And like, I don't understand what the future is going to be. I don't get it, and I don't understand what her plan is at the end. I just don't get it.
Wow.
There's like this takedown, and then she's like, "This is what we're going to do now," and I'm like, "Wait, what do you get? What?" Like I rewinded it and watched it again. I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know what happened in this movie.
So I know that it's based on a book that's like very popular.
Right.
In my understanding of it, and you'll have to clarify it obviously, but my understanding of it is that it has something to do with like kind of a futuristic display of like kind of social networking.
Yes.
Like it's kind of satirizing it or taking it a step farther.
So it's kind of like, basically the Circle is like a company that's like an amalgam of Apple, Facebook, and Amazon.
Okay.
So it's like, you literally go to this website for everything. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's your Twitter, it's your Instagram, it's your Facebook, it's
Pornhub.
Yeah. It's where you buy your stuff from. It's just everything. And they keep upping it. And eventually this main character gets a job there, and she like becomes like the guinea pig for this idea where they create these tiny little cameras that are more than just cameras. They can like tell you the weather, and they can like sense all this stuff. I don't know. But like, and they're like $30.
Okay.
So you can buy them and just put them anywhere because they're not expensive, and it's just like, I don't know, but like, it's kind of weird. She basically decides to put them everywhere in her house and wear one at all times. So she's kind of like
Pornhub.
Truman. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. She's kind of like Truman showing herself.
Okay.
Yeah. So that like it goes to that level, and it's just there are some very interesting moments. There's some commentary on where all this social media is leading us to and how it's changing us as people and all that, and some of that stuff's interesting commentary. And there's obviously some issues that arise when she tries to open the entire world to what she does on a daily basis, minute by minute. And she like involves her family in it and stuff, and it kind of goes bad. It's interesting
Who's the
at
lead
times.
in that again?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. Okay,
Yeah.
And then Tom Hanks is kind of the bad guy.
Yeah, he's the head of the company. He's the Steve Jobs or the Elon Musk kind of character. Yes, I mean there are some interesting moments, and I would almost say it's worth a watch for those, but it literally goes nowhere. I hate to like throw a whole movie out by the ending, or based on the ending, but it's kind of warranted in this story. Okay. In this movie, anyways. I haven't read the book. I don't know how good the book is, but I can imagine that the book is quite good.
I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. Huh. But I'm hoping this is a poor interpretation of it because, I just really didn't like it. Okay. I wish I could elaborate on that. It's just, and it's all very, very bland. The main character just isn't all that interesting. And it's like, it's funny because she puts these cameras everywhere in her house, and she's literally wearing a camera all day, and she has millions of followers and stuff. And I'm like, oh, why? She's really not interesting. I mean, she's very cute. She's a good looking woman, but Pornhub. So yeah, it is not good. It has a 5.3 rating on IMDb, which I thought was kind of generous.
Really?
I'd probably give it like 1.5 stars out of 5.
Yeah, I've heard really terrible things.
It's not good. It's not good.
Damn.
And John Boyega's in it.
Oh, really?
which bums me out because I want to see him do good things. And isn't he in the Pacific Rim?
He is. He plays Idris Elba's son.
Okay.
In Pacific Rim Uprising?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
So it better be good.
Yeah. The trailers look kind of interesting, but I don't know. But that's interesting. Yeah, The Circle. It's on my Amazon Prime.
It's free on there, yeah.
Yeah. And like I don't want to spend the time to watch it if it's going to be a bad movie because judging from the podcast output recently, I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah. I'd rather watch 3 seasons of Cheers or ER. But anyway, or play Arkham. The Cape and Cowl podcast coming soon. But yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Yeah, it sucked. And the kid from Boyhood is in it.
Oh, really? Eller Cole?
Yes, Eller Coltrane? Coleman?
Colton?
Cole something?
Eller... I don't know.
I think it's Coltrane.
I think it's Coltrane.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in it. And he's fine.
How old is he in it?
It's funny. He starts out as a boy. Nice. Actually, he Benjamin Buttons. He starts out as a 25-year-old. Nice. At the end, he's 6. No. He's in his 20s.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I that's because that was my biggest complaint about Boyhood was that he's just a shitty actor.
Right.
And
how is he in actual?
He was fine.
Movie?
He was fine in actual movie.
An actual movie. Like one that he actually has a script.
Right. Right. He was fine. He's nothing. He's not that great.
Okay.
But he wasn't distractingly bad like in Boyhood.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that is The Circle. And, I'll close this out. I have 2 things that I could bring up, but I think I'm going to save one for Potpourri or for extended Potpourri that we're going to be doing soon because I'm still formulating my thoughts on it even a week or 2 weeks after seeing it. It's Annihilation, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll report back on that later. But to round us out for this week's episode, I want to mention ER.
Oh my God.
Now, I know I've been tweeting a lot. I know I've been mentioning ER a lot. But what I'm going to say is that I just started season 6 and the incomparable Alan Alda does a guest arc in the beginning of season 6.
Nice.
And couple things. One is that season 6 introduces Goran Viznik as a main actor in the show. He's
like Serbian or
Croatian.
Croatian, yeah.
And the character is, at least. I don't know about the actor.
Right.
But he becomes a main cast member, but also like I kind of got a little bit of a laugh out of myself because Alan Alda does a guest spot at the beginning, and then also they introduce a new character named Dr. Dave Minucci, I think, who is played by an actor who I've seen in one other thing, and I kind of like the idea of like the ER like press packet for season 6, saying like, oh, season 6 adds the iconic Alan Alda. And also the actor who played Jennifer Love Hewitt's creepy, kind of incestuous cousin in Can Hardly Wait.
Oh my God.
Like, I just kind of like that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
But that guy, he does a fine job in ER. The character is kind of an ass, but like, it's kind of like one of those, like, you kind of love to hate him kind of characters.
Okay.
But yeah, to actually bring up my actual point, Alan Alda, unbelievable. Like, that guy, he is just out of this world amazing. Like, he has such a talent in this run of episodes that he's in ER to just really make you feel for the character. And then he has this commanding presence that, like, just in sheer terms of hearing his voice, like, I could listen to him read the dictionary.
Yeah.
Like, his voice is incredible. But he plays this older doctor who joins the team at County, and it slowly kind of unravels that he's not up to doing like an inner city emergency room rotation.
Okay.
And it's like the the stress that puts on him is really, really urgent. Like it has this urgency to him that leads to some really incredible acting from Alan Alda, and then also Laura Innes, who played Lowell's estranged wife in Wings. Laugh track sitcoms.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so he is like an old mentor of hers, and like there's this dynamic between the two of them where she like knows like she's kind of in denial about his like effectiveness, and like there's just some really rich dramatic moments between the two characters throughout this run of episodes. And like watching it, I think I mentioned in another episode that I have kind of this list of TV shows that made the list, like a list of TV shows that I haven't seen that were included in the book, TV the Book by Alan Sepinwall and Matt Zoller. So I have a checklist of all the shows that they listed in their top 100 American television shows list. I have a list of the ones I haven't seen. It's like 79 shows that I haven't seen to completion. ER's on it, Batman the Animated Series, Cheers, like those are all shows I'm currently watching. But one of them is, of course, MASH, which, of course, Alan Alda played Hawkeye in.
Yes.
And it bums me out so much that MASH is not available to stream or buy digitally anywhere.
Dang.
Yeah, and like I'm so primed to watch MASH right now because Alan Alda blew me away on ER.
Nice.
And so, kind of an anecdote to end the episode on. I went to Walmart the other day, and like Walmart has like you know how like Walmart and like Target have those like collections of like classic TV shows that are like just like bare bones releases and stuff. They had basically before finding this at Walmart, I had looked online, and like to buy physical DVDs of MASH, it's like $20 a pop, or $20 a pop.
Okay.
For 11 seasons. And so I saw a package from afar that was like seasons 9 through 11 for $25.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh my god, it's happening. And then right next to it was MASH seasons 5 through 8, $25. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh.
And then I looked, seasons 1 through 4, nowhere to be found.
Of course.
I could, like, they weren't, like, I even looked on Walmart.com, and they were not, like, available anywhere in any other store.
Oh my god.
And so I was like, I tweeted a picture of it. I was like, Walmart, why you do this? And so, like, I almost bought at least 5 through 8 so that I could eventually, like, collect 1 through 4 and then watch, but.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't. I just bought toilet paper instead. Yeah.
Adulting.
Yep.
Alan Alda is terrific. I haven't actually seen him in a lot.
Yeah.
But what jumps out to me is actually both performances are him as a politician. Catch Me If You Can, he plays that senator. Who's kind of McCarthy-ish.
That's right. Okay.
And then, or no, not Catch Me If You Can. The Aviator.
Oh yeah, I don't know why I said, "Oh, that's right," because I didn't know.
Steve, different Leo DiCaprio movie.
Right.
The Aviator. He plays the kind of McCarthy-ish senator. And then The West Wing. I think he's in season 6.
That's right. I saw it in his IMDb.
Yeah. He's in like most of the season, or maybe 10 or 11 episodes of a I can't remember what, but he plays a Republican nominee for president.
God, him doing Sorkin dialogue.
Yes.
Man.
There is an entire episode that is just a debate between him and why can't I think of his name?
Martin Sheen?
No, I can remember the character's name, Matthew Santos.
Oh, Jimmy Smits.
Jimmy Smits, thank you. It is literally just a debate between him. Like, it's not even like a scripted TV show. It's like they filmed an actual NBC debate between the two.
That's amazing.
And it is amazing. It's incredible.
Wow.
And his character is just so phenomenal in that show. He's like kind of a one-of-a-kind actor. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I've seen a handful of episodes of MASH, and I'm always like, man, I could really get into this show because it is a very intelligent and like quick kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Like it's not your standard sitcom comedy.
Right.
It's very quick comedy.
So would we cover it on our new podcast?
Oh my God.
The Cape and Cal.
God damn it. But yeah, I agree. He's phenomenal, and yeah, it kind of makes me want to watch MASH as well.
Nice. Yeah, same here. Like, I mean, honestly, if I had the means and if it was available to buy like on like Google Play and stuff,
Yeah.
I would buy the whole series in a heartbeat.
Right.
But
I'm surprised it's not. I'm surprised one of the streaming services hasn't snatched it up.
me too. And like I was thinking about that when I was perusing Walmart. I was like, I could just buy, because I have the money. Like I can spend that money now, buy the majority of the series, and then down the road just get 1 through 4 at
Right.
my leisure.
Right.
But I know the second that I get like the 4th season or the first season, it'll show up on like Hulu or
Yeah.
Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I held out for ER, and it's paying out dividends for me now.
Right.
Yeah.
The ER is human.
TER is human. The Cape and Cal. The laugh track.
Yeah. God.
Pornhub, the podcast.
Pornhub.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this episode.
Yeah.
Next week, I think we're going to do an extended potpourri, Tiny.
Okay.
And then, it's coming. It's coming soon, Tiny. Well, first, I kind of want to do also Ready Player One whenever, I think it releases like next week.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll do extended potpourri and then Ready Player One. And then in April, Tiny, do you know what we're doing?
What are we doing?
Infinity War.
We are doing Infinity War.
I am so pumped for that.
Totes.
It was brought up in the group chat or in the Facebook group, and I concur. And I was planning on doing this also. We should do like a pre-episode, like just an episode all about leading up to Infinity War. And I kind of want the idea behind it is like well, actually, this is Tony's idea from the Facebook group, to get like everyone in the Facebook group to give like rank their Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And then also, I kind of want to do like a death pool.
Okay.
Like us guess who is going to die in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll be fun. That's next month. They moved it up. They moved up the release one week.
They did.
So
Which,
that's
of course,
awesome.
they fucking did. They're
Yeah, of
Marvel.
course.
They can do whatever they
Yeah.
want.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, did you see that Entertainment Weekly did like, and then they're doing like I think it may be the April edition. It's all about, it's like the title cover is Infinity Wars.
Yeah.
And they have like 16 different variants of the cover.
God.
And it's not like, okay, here's Iron Man, here's Hulk,
Right.
here's Thor. It's like, this is like 3 characters from different universes all on one cover. And they still had to do
Wow.
like 15 or 16 covers.
My God.
Yeah, like Star-Lord and Black Panther are on one cover, and then like Iron Man got his own and the Hulk got his own, but like half of them are at least 2 characters.
That is nuts.
Crazy how many
That
people.
movie is going to be insane.
It is. It is.
God, and I'm just so amazed they're going to do it. They're going to pull it off.
They are. They're going to pull it off. Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so check out Patreon for my commentary tracks and everything. Tiny, if you want to record a commentary at some point,
Okay.
throw it out there.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews means it'll be easier for people to find the show in the highly competitive film and TV podcast genre. It also provides us with valuable feedback on the show. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a one-time PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate or become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for recurring donations with different reward tiers. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, notebooks, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can also buy other great TeePublic designs in our store, and we'll get a small commission on the sale. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. We love to hear from you guys. You can contact us by emailing podcast@obsessiveviewer.com or by tweeting us at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer, where you can take part in discussions and polls between episodes. For more podcast content, check out Anthology, Matt's solo podcast, where he's reviewing The Twilight Zone as a first-time viewer and exploring other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows. You can find Anthology at anthologypod.com and anywhere podcasts are found. For book lovers, you can check out our sister site at obsessivebooknerd.com for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the app of your choice. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.